The New World Order will recognize that the produce of the world, the natural resources of the planet and its riches, belong to no one nation but should be shared by all. There will be no nations under the category haves and others under the opposite category. A fair and properly organized distribution of the wheat, the oil and the mineral wealth of the world will be developed, based upon the needs of each nation, upon its own internal resources and the requirements of its people. All this will be worked out in relation to the whole. Let's stop at this point for a moment. Here we have conclusive proof that the Marxist plan for the redistribution of the earth resources is a plan of the New World Order. It also confirms what William Cooper had stated earlier in his lecture on the New World Order. The Venus Project's objective global resource management is merely another way of saying redistribution of the earth resources, because redistribution will have to be involved because of the imbalance amongst rich and poor nations. Furthermore, redistribution of resources is a plank in Marx's thinking which Edward G. Griffin had accused Zeitgeist of promoting. Let's move on. The New World Order will be founded on the recognition that all men are equal in origin and goal, but that all are at differing stages of evolutionary development. That personal integrity, intelligence, vision and experience, plus a marked goodwill, should indicate leadership. Let's stop again at this point for a moment. This last sentence is of interest because it's effectively saying that some will be more equal than others. People who think the Venus Project will end bosses, as Cabal had also stated in The Shape of Things to Come, are delusional. Cabal's wings of the world said one thing yet did another. People who promoted technocracy previously, such as H.G. Wells, were members of the New World Order. The New World Order is most famously symbolized by the all-seeing eye within a triangle. The same symbolic gesture that is stuck within the Zeitgeist addendum movie as a Illuminati calling card. It represents a pyramid of hierarchy for how the New World Order rule us. Note that the pyramid structure is not flat. Furthermore, this book that I'm reading from is called The Externalization of the Hierarchy. How can I or anyone else make it any more clear? Yet people in the Zeitgeist movement still protest in the light of this. Let's move on. Domination of the proletariat over the aristocracy and bourgeoisie, as in Russia, or the domination of an entrenched aristocracy over the proletariat and middle classes, as has been until lately the case in Great Britain, must disappear. The control of labor by capital or the control of capital by labor must also go. In the New World Order, the governing body in any nation should be composed of those who work for the greatest good of the greatest number and who at the same time offer opportunity to all, seeing to it that the individual is left free. Today the men of vision are achieving recognition, thus making possible a right choice of leaders. It was not possible until this century. The New World Order will be founded on an active sense of responsibility. The rule will be all for one and one for all. This attitude among nations will have to be developed. It is not yet present. Let's stop here again. So Alice Bailey wants us to be musketeers in the New World Order. Seriously, there is no way they can make this fly, and they know it themselves. They knew at the top levels that Marxism couldn't work in the former Soviet Union. As you recall from what Edward G. Griffin said earlier, people were sent to camps to purge the profit motive out of them, and you can see that failed. The real reason why the New World Order uses the Marxist vehicle is because it's an effective control matrix. Pure and simple. Let's move on. In the preparatory period for the New World Order there will be a steady and regulated disarmament. It will not be optional. No nation will be permitted to produce and organize any equipment for destructive purposes or to infringe the security of any other nation. One of the first tasks of any future peace conference will be to regulate this matter and gradually see to the disarming of the nations. Let's stop again. This will also mean no more personal firearms than is presently built within the U.S. Constitution. Interestingly, the United Nations has pushed for a ban on personal firearms worldwide. What's more interesting is the United Nations itself was pushed by people like Alice Bailey and built on land donated by the Illuminati Rockefellers. Let's move on. The vision of possibility must never be lost, and the foundations must be preserved inviolate, but the intermediate processes and the experimentations must be carried forward by men who, having the best interests of the whole at heart, can change the detail of organization whilst preserving the life of the organism. Organism. Now that is an interesting word. Is that not the word that Peter Joseph uses to describe humanity in his introduction of the Zeitgeist orientation video? Still not convinced about Zeitgeist, socialism and theosophy all linked together? I will read from J. Dyer's Zeitgeist Addendum toward a Technocratic, Communitarian, Cybernated Society. Peter Joseph is naive, and has been swayed by one after another teacher. In the first Zeitgeist, a Hegelian concept coined by Johann Gottfried Herder of the Bavarian Illuminati, he was obviously enamored with Acharya S. and her occult theosophical secret tradition interpretation of ancient history. In Addendum, he has found a few new solution-oriented gurus of the same ilk. The one-time New Age theosophical Christ Maitreya J. Krishnamurti, thrust upon the occult utopian socialist underground at the beginning of the 20th century by theosophy head Fabian socialist Annie Besant and pederast Freemason C.W. Leadbeater, begins and ends the film. For something that purports to espouse a modern, non-superstitious-based understanding of the world, well, let's just say that it is hypocritical and deceitful not to even identify the theosophical current throughout both films, or the outright socialism of the latest. Though Peter Joseph hasn't admitted his theosophical debt, at 1:35 and 37 seconds he tips his hand by the obscure mention of intellectual materialism, a term used by Blavatsky herself in Lucifer magazine, and touts the true divinity of man 1:48 and 25 seconds. New Ager Aka economic hitman Perkins has experienced the seething energies of Lucifer as well. At 1:43 and 7 seconds he talks of the bliss of connectedness and our God Spirit, while an illumined man makes a gesture with his hands of a triangle in front of the sun.